What are your thoughts on somebody playing at Toledo and then getting drafted in the first round of the NFL? That's very abnormal, obviously.
Yeah, and I think what helped them a little bit was the Senior Bowl, playing against good competition there. But they played some good schools. They played Illinois. He had a big game against Northern Illinois with the 3 interceptions. But I think this is a big physical kid that'll help also play on special teams. So he'll help him on all 4 downs. But really is a perimeter guy, and this guy, he's got good skills, and I'm sure they'll develop him and, just be a better man-to-man player. He hasn't played, probably enough man-to-man against high-level competition yet, but, he'll get there.
Very clean dap with Roger Goodell.
And it's picked off. Walking in again is Quinyon Mitchell. His second 4 picks. Mitchell, that is a hat trick. Indeed it is.
Rear deck.
Something one more time. It's not number 27. It is number 27 again. Give him 4. Quinyon Mitchell.
Right, let's run. Let it match. Let's go.
Meanwhile, Cooper DeJean, the Iowa quarterback, another one who's on Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 list, he is recovering from a broken fibula, something he suffered kind of late in Iowa's season. He just started running full speed, so he's not going to test out here today. Not clear if he's going to be ready for his pro day, but the hope is to have some sort of workout for scouts and teams before April's draft.
Down 4.
Let me talk my shit again.
Y'all already know what it is. What it do. This is the Talk My Shit podcast. I'm your less humble and more hostile host, Cassius Cliff. If y'all wondering why there's no reason for y'all to be humble right now and to talk as much shit as you could possibly talk, y'all remember this draft for this past weekend, and really the offseason that we've been having up until this point has been one for the books. I mean, if you ask any other fan from their fans' perspective in terms of their team, what has their team been doing? Has it been even remotely close to what Howie and his front office has been doing? Night and day, bro. I'm talking about moves that you cannot make in a video game in Madden. You can't get away with this shit because literally the guy just knows how to manipulate the cap, know how to restructure signings, and really he's just ahead of the curve. He is a guy that is proactive, and if you're asking me as a fan, as a content curator, that is exactly what you would want and hope out of your front office. And right now, we live in blissful lives, man. I'm not gonna lie to y'all. This shit is just beyond entertaining. It is comforting. I have zero concern when it comes to this team going forward into this season. If you ask me that draft night, and really I tweeted, y'all can see right here, when it was coming up to our pick at the 22nd pick and seeing that all these corners were still sitting there, I'm thinking maybe we might move up. If not, if we sit pat, let's just come away at least with one of these guys. Obviously, you see Chop Robinson right there, a edge rusher. And the only reason why I left him on that, purely because I know Howie's MO. I know his history. He likes to get guys in the trenches in that first round. I figured that's what would have happened. But my man, as he's done throughout this offseason and coming into the draft, has completely shattered and broke the mold. I don't even know if that's the same guy. Because for us to draft not one, but 2 corners in the first 2 rounds, come on, man. My prayers could not have been answered any better. You see the athleticism in both of these guys, especially. Yeah, you see Quinyon Mitchell running 4.3 and squatting 5.05. That's major. That's big time. But drafting a corner, a white DB that can dunk, yeah, that's funny to talk about. But, like, if you want athleticism in the DB room, you absolutely got it in these first 2 picks. You can't complain about it. These were considered the top 2 corners in the entire draft. Specifically talking about Cooper DeJean, he was considered the number 1 corner before he got hurt. So that being said, I mean, we came away with 2 steals in this draft, and we couldn't be happier and more satisfied given the first 2 rounds of really the entirety of this draft, because obviously we're going to be focusing on the first 2 guys, but we have so much to talk about. And before we get into any of it, really, I appreciate y'all liking, sharing, subscribing, continue to tap in, especially comment on the videos in regards to the draft, because I want to hear y'all thoughts and y'all opinions. Obviously, there's been a lot going on, and I just want to hear from y'all just to kind of have that back and forth. And it just serves as good, good conversation. So definitely continue to tap in, like, share, subscribe. Get into it, y'all. First and foremost, with the 22nd pick, Kenyon Mitchell. I mean, you heard Bill Belichick, a legend in terms of defensive coaching, co-signed this pick. And yes, he went to a small school in Toledo. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I don't know where Toledo is on the map. And I don't think that's important. That shit doesn't matter right now, because I know where he's going to be this fall. That's going to be in Philadelphia. And I know I'm going to be able to pinpoint him on the field, because the guy just makes plays. You're talking about a guy who set a record since 2000 for the FBS, 4 interceptions, 2 for INT, pick 6. Come on, man. Like, yes, the level of competition was not the same as it is in the SEC, but these are all college players. And really, if I'm playing quarterback, I'm not throwing it 4 times his way after the first 3 times. I'm just not going to do it. But this quarterback dared him, and you saw what happened. 4 of them things in 1 game. That's big time, bro. And if this wasn't impressive enough, look at him in the Senior Bowl against actual comparable talent. Here he is against Roman Wilson, one-on-one drills. They had some good battles throughout that weekend, and this is the round that he took right here. Yes, it may not look as impressive as he falls, but that is not an incompletion because he was in that play throughout the entirety of the play. Here's the next one here with Ricky Pearsall, who was considered one of the better route runners in the entire draft class. Completely shuts him down, and the play is over and done with. That's exactly what we're getting out of our first pick. I mean, what a home run pick by Howie Roseman in the front office. I mean, huge shout outs to them, because that was absolutely the position of need. And we went with that. And that's not what we're not used to, that dealing with Howie Roseman in his front office. So it was a great change of scenery to see in this draft. I mean, couldn't be happier. That second round pick, I mean, obviously, that's the next day, the next night, and it's round 2 and 3. And we knew that we had 2 picks in the second round and no third round picks. So I'm anticipating cornerback, if not safety and linebacker, whichever would fall, I would be more than content with. And if you wanted to go with the trenches, let's do that. But being able to steal a guy like Cooper DeJean at number 40 and having to give up obviously 2 draft picks, but getting, draft picks back. I mean, again, Howie Roseman is just a man amongst boys when it comes to this front office shit and really being able to build a roster, because yes, Cooper DeJean fell because of his injury, but when it comes to a guy that can be used as a chess piece and the ultimate weapon for a guy like Vic Fangio, who is clearly very creative, loves to disguise his coverages, Cooper DeJean is exactly what the doctor ordered when it comes to having a guy and being able to deploy him on multiple fronts in multiple positions. And in a pinch, you could use a guy as a punt returner, which, yes, we have Britton Covey, who was more than serviceable last year. I think he had top 5 numbers when it comes to returning punts. But not at one point did I ever expect him to take one to the house. I don't necessarily expect Cooper DeJean to do that, but I firmly have a lot more confidence in him than I do Britton Covey. Oddly enough, they're both white, which I don't get how this keeps happening. We already have a white DB, but here we are. We got those guys in our DB room, and really and truly, Cooper DeJean is probably one of the, if not one of the best DBs to come out of this year's draft. So that was a great pick, all in all. Great pick by Howie in his front office. I mean, come on, bro. We just operating at a different level this offseason. And that's how it goes in these first 2 rounds, man. I mean, when you talk about, again, having to deal with a guy like Bradbury and essentially allowing a guy like Drew Lock to cook up and lead his team to a game-winning drive against a team that was destined to do a lot in the postseason. Especially going into that game, we already, going into it 10-1, and probably had dropped the game at this point. But regardless of that, there's no way, shape, or form we should have been a close game with Drew Lock and the Seattle Seahawks, given the team that we had around Jalen Hurts and the rest of those guys on that roster. But that's where we were in this game. And we were actually up, and yet and still, when we absolutely needed to stop to close the game out, we just couldn't get it. Having guys like Bradbury back there who was probably better served as a marathon runner versus a cornerback because all he's doing is getting cardio out there. That's just the facts. I'm just glad that those games are behind us because it was tough sledding. It was tough to watch, especially having you got a rookie lined up against you and he just beats you on a simple, up and out, not even up and out, just a go route. And you couldn't keep up with that. And that's tough to watch because this is a guy who's a former All-Pro looking like he's just learning the game of football. That's tough, man. But given that, we have a GM like Howie Roseman who's proactive, we don't have to worry about that no more. I mean, look at these numbers with these two guys last year. 0 touchdowns allowed, great passer rating against them, and with more than adequate amount of coverage snaps. Like, these are not on 20 snaps. These are on several hundred snaps, and they showing improving. That's exactly what you want out of your first 2 picks, especially given that the first one you had to reach on, and the second we had to give a very little draft capital to move up for. Even if you pay attention, after that Cooper DeJean pick, 3 corners came off the board right after. So if you understand draft trends, best believe he was going to get picked right there. But Howie Roseman seeing that we needed the need and having the capital and just having the savvy, move it up to 40, snagged you a great one. Huge shout out to Howie Roseman in his front office. I mean, a draft we're getting to remember, all adult vibes. It's been great to have this kind of offseason. I mean, bro, there's too much content to put out, but I'm excited to get into it with y'all. Stay tuned, stay locked in. We got more to come very soon, very soon. To the next one, this is the Talk My Shit podcast, which are more hostile, less humble host, Cassius Cliff. We out to the next one, y'all.